Welcome to San Diego and our coverage of the Western Ultimate League Championships. We are about to start the semifinal between the Oregon Onyx and San Diego Super Bloom. Earlier we had our semifinal between Seattle and Arizona. Seattle toppling the Sidewinder Snakes and getting ready for the championship match tomorrow. But right now we are really focused on this matchup between Oregon and San Diego. You can see the standings. They were very close in their record. The last time that they met was in the Utah Wild Weekend, and it was a wild weekend. The weather was absolutely all over the place, as spring in Utah can be. It was a matchup that had wind, it had rain, it had sleet, it had snow, it had most of the things that the post office says they will come through. But today we have a very sunny day, a little bit of breeze, and we're really going to be able to see these two teams come together. Announcing today with me is Mako.
Hi, yeah, excited to be here announcing for the San Diego Super Bloom game and Oregon Onyx. Like you said, their last matchup was not too long ago at the Utah Wild Weekend. There have been a few roster changes on both sides of the teams that I'm interested to see play out in this game. And these, again, are the second and third seed going into this championship, so I think we should expect to see a closer game.
I think we will see a very close game. I'm very excited to see it. If I didn't say so, I'm Katie Killebrew, and I'm very excited to be here announcing this second semifinal today. You can see the teams are being announced. What players are you looking to see this weekend make an impact, Mako?
I would think from San Diego Super Bloom, on a defensive look, given some of the roster changes, I would like to watch and highlight Rebecca Ellis, number 9 on San Diego Super Bloom, who is one of the stalwart handlers for that line, and see what kind of larger role she'll play in this game.
Yeah, you may have seen Ellis before as part of that national title winning UC San Diego core. She has several teammates on this team that also won that national title. But Ellis sometimes doesn't get the same type of recognition as those other players. And I think that today may be a good day to see her absolutely shine in that defensive handler role. The other player I'd like to highlight on San Diego Super Bloom is Kristin Pajunis, number 4.
Of course, it makes sense that you would highlight someone with an incredible stat sheet like Pajunis. We've seen her throughout this season just with blocks on every game, amazing plays, and now we'll go down to the
away
field
team is gonna
for the
call
flip.
You're away, I believe. Cool. 3, 2, 1. Cool. Defense. So, offense. You said you're taking this side. Street. And this is the scoreboard. All right, so I have SD on offense on this side. No one has to move, so we're coming this way. I think the only thing is make sure you wait for the goal signals before you drop the disc and your teammates come onto the field.
Yeah, you can
travel,
see.
continue play, just point to where you have to be. I think that was pretty much it. Anything else? Yep. Ideally. Yep.
Yeah, so that is lead observer Josie Ma. Her ultimate nickname is Judge, and I think it's very fun to see her really earning that nickname here as the observer on the field. We have an all-female observer team today for our WUL championships. You can see Pajunis right there. That is Kristin Pajunis, one of the lead block getters in the league. That was a tongue twister that I gave myself there to say.
Yeah, and just really excited to see on both sides there are incredible standout players. We have a lot of depth, and I feel like both of these teams really work within their systems. So we'll be able to see which of those systems will prevail.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked a lot about hometown team here, San Diego Super Bloom, but looking at Oregon Onyx, there have been some great players. Two that we wanted to highlight were Julia Sherwood, number 18, and Kimber Coles, number 5. Neither player was present at the Wild Weekend, and we're looking to them to make an impact in this game. Both of them are from national title winning Oregon Fugue and have been teammates for a long time. I think that will be a very impactful moment in this game, but I'm also looking forward to seeing Morgan Zajan, who is currently the league leader in scores, start to pad those stats. So that's another player to look for. You can see the starting lineup now for San Diego Super Bloom.
And we can see here it's Alex Diaz, Ilse Maldonado, Kristin Pajunis, Avery Jones, Leslie Willis, Kelly Iwamoto, and Julia Salvachon. And that is definitely the Bloom O-line. And then we have our Oregon defensive starting lineup: Claudia Tajima, JC Jones, Julia Sherwood, Lindsay Wilson, and the rest of the starting Oregon Onyx D-line.
Yeah, that big pull went up and looks like it landed out of bounds. The sun is coming right into our booth at the moment, so forgive us if we cannot see quite a number or so. We have Super Bloom starting with the disc in the middle of the field, going to Avery Jones on the far side.
Back to Willis.
To Diaz, to Pajunis. Avery streaking deep. Diaz gets it on an up line. Maldonado just outside the end zone. Back to Diaz.
And that was a clean hold for San Diego Super Bloom. And a lot of open looks, just nice, clean, easy downfield offense.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how coaches Angela Wells and Alicia Stone would like that to go, wanting to make those easy connections. Lindsay Wilson, they made a play for the disc there, and I think if the disc had gone to that space, they would have had it. But there you can see Alex Diaz getting the disc every other, really churning on the undercuts to try to go. Alex Diaz is certainly one of the players to watch. I think they had hurt their thumb actually in the Wild Weekend, and are testing it out. So we'll have to see if her thumb is hurting her as we go through those things. I don't think anything's going to stop Alex Diaz from playing Ultimate. To be clear, she's going to keep playing even if it hurts, but we'll have to see if maybe that lefty backhand comes out instead. Pajunis pulling. Coming out in a vert stack for this Oregon O-line.
Yeah, Oregon really relying on their vert stack, on their downfield cutter offense. Oh, looks like Kayla Helton was, tested in the deep space time and time again. She has definitely proven that deep space is one she controls.
I mean, San Diego has made a name for themselves in this league by having stalwart defense, especially in the deep space. Kayla Helton was also notably not in the last matchup between these two teams, and I think the defensive presence on both sides is going to be beefed up. We'll have to see what happens. This is the first break opportunity for Super Bloom.
And we do see Iwamoto crossing over to the D-line to make up for the absent handlers that normally would round out the handler defensive line for Bloom.
Pajunis looking for Rutland, back to Iwamoto. Ellis with the disc, moving it upfield. Helton holding the disc a little long, but finds, it looks like Rutland.
Duran moving it up back to Pajunis.
Helton stays in bounds.
Great awareness there to keep that disc live.
And that was a very good timeout there by Angela Wells. Angela Wells, precision point with those timeout calls. She will say it's her favorite part of the game is having a little bit more control as a coach to call those timeouts from the sideline. And in fact, that would have been a turnover from Helton to Ellis, but instead, Super Bloom retains possession and gets a new stall count on the sideline.
I'm not sure if that would be a turnover or just Ellis recognized the timeout call as it was happening, and that's what led to her not exactly catching that disc, because I do know that, you know, D-lines want to score just as much as O-lines, and so I'm sure when those timeouts are called, again, great strategy.
Yeah, you can see this turnover as occurred earlier in the point. Big throw going up, and Helton just saying no. Receiver couldn't quite make a play there.
So no thank you, that's my
No,
space.
thank you.
Looks like we are seeing that roster change on both sides, seeing some more O-line players for Super Bloom subbed on and some defensive players for Onyx.
That is number 13, Leslie Willis picking up. To Malden. To Alex Daniel. Oh, little bit of a collision there. Diaz, big reception there.
Wow, Willis
Stall
really
count rising. And Diaz with the heads up play. There is a stall called. I can see the observers signaling for stall with that patting of the top of their heads.
really have to highlight Willis on that grab just before that stall was called, just able to maintain possession as she had to go to the ground to get that catch.
Hold the contest. So stall contest. So it's going to come back and in on 5.
So Super Bloom is going to retain possession here, but coming in at 5 at stall 7, very short amount of time. The pre-stall here is really going to help Super Bloom. To Pajunis, back to Maldonado, running through that handler set.
You know, end zone set is definitely a place that Bloom thrives. I know that one of their goals going into championship weekend is to ensure that their end zone set is as clean as possible, and that's something that they've been practicing in pods and practices. Oregon defense really putting on the pressure there for Bloom and not making that an easy score for Bloom.
No, that was a big break from Super Bloom coming out of that point. They called that timeout to retain possession. They had those calls, that closely contested stall count to retain possession. That's a very important hold to start off this game. Super Bloom would certainly like to get out to a lead. It looks like we're going to see several of the same players on this D-line.
Yeah, I imagine that Super Bloom is trying to take the lead that they have now and really get ahead on Oregon Onyx and maintain a large lead throughout the game if possible.
Yeah, and looking at Onyx, this is a very typical O-line for them with Eisenbray picking up.
And we see Zajon out there in the cutting space.
Sherwood with the disc. To Eisenbray.
Looks like Bloom has a little bit of a bracket on their vert stack, picking up players.
Yeah, that's 6, Claudia Tajima. And that is a foul call on the D by number 11, Avery Jones. They're going to talk through that play with number 56, Valerie Peacock.
Looks like it might come to a contest. Let's take a look at that replay right here. Hard to tell. It looks like they were both going to the same space.
The observer there ruled no foul, so the disc is going to go to Super Bloom's hands. Iwamoto is picking up with a reset provided by Ellis. And it is a big huck that goes up to Helton, streaking deep, towing the line in. Really great field awareness there by Helton.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of play you would expect from a veteran Worlds player like Helton, just able to streak deep and maintain possession right on the line. And what a beautiful huck from Iwamoto. I think having her cross over on these defensive points is definitely an advantage for Bloom. And hopefully one that she'll be able to play both O and D. I know.
Exactly. I think the Super Bloom coaches would like them to play defense for the rest of the game and just put it away. I don't think that Onyx is going to let them do that. I love watching a player so aware of where they are on the field, making aggressive plays off of that defensive line. Talking to Coach Alicia Stown before this game started, they said that they were trying to stifle the movement of Oregon Onyx's vertical stack, playing really hard off that front reset, and that's exactly what Super Bloom has done so far.
Yeah, Oregon Onyx really able to use that bounce cut from the break side up line to get in front of their defenders. We might see it right here, a little bobble. Maintain possession.
Bulio with the disc. Steinfeld coming back for it, but Teresa Fang getting the D. Picking up the disc.
Lexa Stamba with a great undercut.
That is a great D.
Exactly the kind of defensive block you'd expect to see from Zhejiang. Just a huge player in this space.
Yeah, Zhejiang is one of the league stat leaders in all categories, and you can see why. That is a big throw to number 5, Kimber Coles. I think that was thrown by Ali Steinfeld, but you can see that that is the type of score that Onyx needed. They needed to get on the board, and Kimber Coles, like we said, is a player that is ready to make an impact.
Yeah, you know, fun fact is her nickname is Kimber Goals, and I think we're going to see why in this game, with this being probably the first of many scores for her.
Yeah, I think that sometimes because that D by Zhejiang, so smart in that space and immediately looking to attack the deep space from the other angle. It's not very often that Kristin Pajunis gets blocked, but it is nice to see the blockee get blocked.
Yeah, Zhejiang just really heads up in that, knowing exactly where the thrower wanted to put that disc.
And that's a pull by Julia Sherwood, which is our first look at the D line here. Wilson on the mark. Diaz under. A big flick going up.
Salvation just not quite able to connect to that as the disc soars into the end zone.
Yeah, Diaz tapping her chest saying that was my bad. Sorry, teammate. And now this is the first break opportunity for Onyx with Wilson picking up the disc. Looks like they're in a 3-handler set with a vert stack. Stall count rising. Indeed.
That was Deanna Abrams able to get that block.
Iwamoto to Maldonado to Diaz.
Another goal for Diaz. Really heads up in the end zone. Was able to get a little redemption after that shot to Salvation not quite connecting, and able to cinch another point for Bloom.
Yeah, Oregon's D-line getting a turn, wanting that, just not able to even move the disc because San Diego Super Bloom's person defense is really stifling. They pride themselves on that defensive pressure, and that has really helped them so far in this game, and I think it's something that the Oregon D-line, when they get a chance at a break, is going to have to start tromping through if they're going to want to come back in this game. 4-1, San Diego Super Bloom leading Oregon Onyx. We have about 6 minutes left in this first quarter.
We'll see that block again. And Deanna Abrams again just able to read that disc and get in that space, and then the score by Diaz. Just a really quick break from Bloom as well.
Eisenberry to Zhejiang, keeping possession there.
Sarah Zane.
Sherwood has it. To Eisenberry.
Oregon really able to use the width of the field in this offensive look.
Tajima to Eisenbray, keeping it inbounds. Who throws the score? And that looks like number 56.
Valerie Peacock for the score. And that was an incredible visionary throw from Tajima to Eisenbray in that space. Again, Onyx able to use the width of the field and really stretch out their offense to make their way up the field.
Yeah, Claudia Tajima is usually known for wearing a hat. She is a standout handler with really pinpoint precision throws. I think if there's a high stall count, we will probably see a hammer or a blade every single time from Claudia Tajima. She wants to put that up and over the defense, really finding those holes in any sort of zone. Speaking of zones, I don't think we've seen Super Bloom throw one yet, and that is shocking to me, given both Alicia Stone and Angela Wells' love of mixing up their defense. Do you think we'll see you here when Super Bloom finally gets a chance to play defense again? Pole landing out of bounds. It looks like Willis is centering the disc.
You see Salvation for the isolated cut. Diaz to follow. Another attempt at the play we saw last point.
Walter to Diaz.
Just another point stat for Diaz in this game. It looks like Bloom attempted the same play that they tried to go down with their last 0 point, and this time it worked. The connection hitting from Diaz to Salvation, and then Diaz for the score for her 3rd goal of this game.
Yes, if you think that we are saying Alex Diaz's name a lot, you are correct. She has been involved in many, many plays for this. If you picked her for your fantasy game, you are doing very well so far. The WUL fantasy game has brought a lot of fans where you can play that. Although I, as a player for Los Angeles Astro, was not allowed to play fantasy until the very end of the season. So I'm a little bit jealous of all the fans who get to root for all the players making great plays like that. Now we see Super Bloom starting on defense with a big pole. It looks like they're coming down in a zone. Ellis on the mark. High stall count rising. Helton with a very close play on that block. But Onyx retains possession. Zajon with the disc on the far side. Released out to number 14, and there's a collision in the backfield. Observers are signaling stoppage of play. It was away from the disc when it happened, so I didn't see exactly what sort of play that was, but it looks like Helton is feeling the impact of another player, gesturing to her ribs there.
I was like changing directions too, and so I retract any call.
Okay.
I don't know if Kayla is going to play.
Okay.
Looks like it might have been a collision with Ali Steinfeld on Onyx.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I appreciate
Are you going to stay on the field? Any calls?
Ultimate
Okay.
is, in this instance, you can have players talking about a contact, respectfully letting players recover themselves,
No
decide what is okay for them and their bodies, and moving on with the play. In this case, players talking respectfully about a contact that occurred, and you can see the play there where it was signal stop, but we don't see the actual play. I think they're going to be discussing now where the disc comes back in. It looks like it might be going to number 14.
Yeah, it looks like it was no contest on that call. Roberts moving it up to Danny Renzo.
To Tetlow, to a bidding player.
It does look like Kayla Helton has recovered. There might be a call from number 11.
unclear. I feel like everyone is unclear. We are unclear. The players are discussing it with an observer again. I think that this is clearly a high-flying game. Kayla Helton in place of both of these.
I don't know. I felt like I couldn't bid fully the way I wanted to. I don't know.
It sounds like number
Do you have a
11
struggle
on
call?
Onyx.
So
Let's get a replay of that. We see both players bidding, and I believe number 11 on Onyx is saying that due to Kayla's play on the disc, she felt unsafe in bidding in the direction that she originally wanted to. So now they're going to the observer.
It's interesting to see these players discussing what is happening. I think that this is a new rule set for most American players, this dangerous play rule. And players saying, you know, what we're trying to do as a league, as players, is play as safely, respecting other players' bodies. And in this case, they're discussing what should happen in this case where two players are bidding towards each other almost.
Looks like it is going to the observer, a contested call. But yeah, I would agree that, you know, within Ultimate, the discussion's ability of players to make these calls, it's all about.
Yeah. Like I have. Okay, we're gonna resolve it at. Yeah. Okay. So then we're gonna have you with the disc at the end of the end zone.
Okay. It looks like it is going to Onyx with the disc on the end zone line.
Yeah, so Onyx will retain possession, but they do not have a score yet, so Super Bloom will have an opportunity to get another D. In the WUL, we're trying to resolve plays a little bit quicker so you can see for this reason. So us broadcasters don't get stuck here trying to figure out what's happening. But I think that quickly resolving plays is also better for the players too. Sometimes discussing for too long is there. And that leads to a score by Oregon, number 21.
Danny Runzo able to reel it in for the score. Yeah, we do see in these calls with players making the calls, discussing them, able to go to the observer. It's all about player empowerment, making sure that they feel comfortable advocating for themselves and have trust in observers to be there to mediate. We see that play again with both the players bidding.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to see from angles on the field. From the cameras, you don't see exactly what angles or what those players were feeling in terms of their, and I agree, like, I don't think you should be asked to bid into someone else's face in order to try to catch a frisbee. This is exciting. So for Oregon Onyx right now, you can see with the disc is Jacqueline Wataoka. And I had the pleasure of calling a game for her. She is a D3 college player for Portland Uproar. And you can see just absolutely monster throws.
That was a beautiful pull.
And Super Bloom with the possession. Maldonado now centered with Willis. On the far side to Jones. To Diaz, using that open side.
Looks like Jessica Wan was able to cut for Diaz. And Salvation for her first goal of the game.
But probably not her last.
And again, Super Bloom just able to work that disc on the open side upfield, able to trust in their cutters to throw forward, which I think is something that they've been working on throughout the season.
I think if Oregon Onyx is going to have continued plays at this disc, they're going to have to stop the open side movement of San Diego Super Bloom. Super Bloom didn't have to really break the disc. Their cutters doing the work with their legs, getting into that open spot, changing the hip position of their defenders and really making that look easy. I think it's easy because it was so athletic.
Yeah, I would say that Bloom's roster has no shortage of athleticism, and they're able to, and that's probably why we haven't seen a zone look yet from Bloom, because they do trust in their players' ability to just run hard on D, on O, and open up the space.
Yeah, Eisenbray to Sherwood coming out of that vertical stack. It looks like Super Bloom has finally thrown a zone over the top there. Moving the disc quickly is the Oregon offensive line. Tajima with the disc to Sherwood. To Eisenbray, losing yards. Again to Sherwood. Eisenbray just marching the disc backwards, finally find an outlet with Coles. To Eisenbray. To Zajon. Looks like Super Bloom is now in a person defense. Sherwood with the laser flick floating deep to the end zone. I think it's maybe out of the reach of Eisenbray.
Just a little too much mustard on that throw. And the player just couldn't quite catch up.
I knew there was something I was supposed to say with ketchup, but I apologize, Mako. I have ruined your beautiful pun.
We'll see that throw again, just sailing past both Pajunis and Eisenbray.
Yeah. I relish the opportunity to make more puns with you, Mako. Pajunis making a big play there, eating up yards to Diaz, to Helton. Pajunis to Jones with a backhand to space for Diaz.
Just a nice, easy snag in the end zone, and that is goal number 4 for Diaz.
And that is a very important break for San Diego Super Bloom. We are still here in the first quarter. There's only 1 minute and 16 seconds left on the clock, but that was one possession. San Diego, once they got that disc, they did not give it back to Oregon. This leading pass from Jones is visionary. And I think that that's the chemistry that is developed between these UC San Diego players. Diaz and Jones were both members of that 2019 National Championship team and have played multiple teams together. They played with us on Los Angeles Lotus, Mako and I also being teammates of the mixed club team. So many, many instances of chemistry for Super Bloom.
Yeah, just really trusting to know where each other will be on the field, what looks that Starsky or Avery Jones is looking for in the end zone, and Diaz just able to go right to the space and Jones able to place it. We did see that zone look from Super Bloom last point. Let's see if it comes down again.
It looks like that pull landed inbounds. Starting out on the sideline is there. Ooh, what a good tiptoe to keep it in bounds by number 61. To Steinfeld.
Back to Tetlow.
Finally finding the break side. Zajon there. Steinfeld. Oh. That is the kind of hold that they wanted to see. Number 61 getting that tiptoe on the sideline hold and then the score. It's really nice to see that the vert stack is working out for Onyx. They went from this sideline all the way to the other sideline and then back to this sideline for the score in a textbook offense. I think finally they are forcing San Diego Super Bloom to do something on defense, and they have made it work. Such a nice throw there from Steinfeld.
Yeah, beautiful shape on that. Just able to get it to Tetlow in the end zone.
Yes, Tetlow.
And
for the score and the important hold.
And it looks like that is 2 assists so far for Ali Steinfeld in this game. Not surprising for this player who is also an amazing stat maker for Oregon Onyx.
Yeah, and then this is another look at the Super Bloom O-line. They've had players going on both sides playing offense and defense, but we have Lindsey Wilson. They're pulling the disc into the field and really having it land on the side. Iwamoto about to pick up. Centered to Willis. Back to Iwamoto. It looks like a zone look for Onyx.
Let's see how Bloom will respond.
Finding Diaz in the middle.
Oh, and Deanna Abrams able to maintain possession on that huck from Diaz.
That defensive play by Shannon Dennehy was so on point. I feel like Super Bloom is a team that just manages to pick up the trashy discs that get D'd. They come up with those. That's such a good play. Diaz coming up with more scores.
Yeah, that is an assist for Diaz and 4 goals in this game. But yes, again, we'll see the replay here. Diaz shooting that disc, and Dennehy right there, able to get a hand on it, but Deanna Abrams able to hold onto the disc for the score.
There he goes. Big pull from Kristin Pajunis. Eisenbray centering to Sherwood. Back to Eisenbray. Looks like a poachy person look from Super Bloom. Onyx moving the disc, trying to find those outlets.
And that is the time running out for the quarter, so this will be the last possession of the quarter, with Onyx either needing to score or if a turn occurs. We got Sherwood with the disc.
Over the top to Zajon, and immediately over there to 56, Valerie Peacock again on the scoreboard.
And that is 2 goals for Valerie Peacock, just able to be in the right place at the right time in the end zone for Onyx. We'll see again Sherwood just with a nice lofty throw to Zajon, who of course has the height to be able to come down with those discs. That's definitely a cutter I would trust with those downfield lofty hucks to come down with it.
I think the reception is impressive, but honestly, the speed with which they were ready to throw the disc to the next player is even more impressive. As a defender, to process that it has been caught and then what is happening next, it was like the Super Bloom defenders, who are very good defenders, almost look stunned there. What takeaways do you have, Mako, from this first half of play, or first quarter of play?
I'd say that Super Bloom is making a statement, but Oregon Onyx is right there on their heels, and we'll see more of these two teams after the break with a score of 8-5 Super Bloom to Onyx.
Welcome back to our coverage of the WUL Championships. You can see those UC San Diego players are supporting their teammates on San Diego Super Bloom. We are here with the second quarter. Oregon Onyx is in white, and they are going to be a little bit down after this first quarter. They have only 5 goals to Super Bloom's 8.
Yeah, and in the start of this second quarter, we will see Oregon Onyx's O-line, and San Diego Super Bloom will put on a D-line. It looks like we are seeing pretty similar players to what we've seen in the first quarter for the D-line. I do know, I think I heard that Oregon Onyx was a crowd favorite to win it all. So they're definitely going to have to fight their way back from the lead that Bloom has so far to get into the championship for that rematch against Seattle Tempest, which the last game that they had in week 8 was really close. I think it was a very exciting game, especially given how Tempest has been playing throughout the season.
Yeah, it was a really close game. This game also, when they played in WUL weekend, was close. I do not think we have seen all of what Oregon Onyx has, and I would not be surprised if the coaching staff has made some changes in this first quarter break. starting the second quarter. We can see them moving, breaking around on the far side to Beaulieu.
Looks like a little bit of a poachy defensive look from Super Bloom.
Steinfeld to Tetlow. Tetlow holding the disc to Runzo. To Steinfeld. To Coles, streaking deep. Defender running down in the space, but Coles has that on lock. That was a really great patience from Kimber Coles, creating space in that deep space. And really Steinfeld finding that player so well.
Yeah, a beautiful throw from Steinfeld and Kimber Coles with the goals. And here we see again the huck and Bloom right there, but Coles able to come down with it. And that is 3 assists now for Ali Steinfeld.
Yeah, really good defensive play there by Super Bloom. But Kimber Coles, who we talked about in the Open, being a player that wasn't at the first meeting of these two teams, a former Oregon Fugue player, longtime Schwa standout, is there making the scores.
And we can see now Ali Steinfeld's stats on the screen with those 3 assists so far in the game. Typically, we do see Steinfeld, you know, with the scores, but also a threat as a thrower for those assists.
I thought you were going to say a threat as a celebrator, sometimes known for her kick spikes and excessive fun celebrations.
You see a huge huck from Hannah Walter with Blair Messner streaking deep, and it just didn't quite connect. We also saw 2 Onyx defenders in that space.
Yeah, I think that Onyx will try to be making that adjustment to stop San Diego's deep game, and they have done that here. Sherwood picking up the disc.
Looks like JC Jones on the sideline. Lindsay Wilson, and they put it up.
Ooh, that was further out of bounds, I think, where it landed than it looked like from here in the booth. But that it will be interesting to see where that comes back in. We'll see where the observer is standing, not even on your screen at the moment. I like that aggressiveness from Wilson. They're certainly a player to watch looking to attack deep.
As well as a force on defense.
Yeah, Maldonado with the stall count rising. Centers over to now Walters. Through the middle. Quick give and go. Big throw. And it is caught by number 11, Avery Jones.
Yeah, number 6, Deanna Abrams, for the assist on that one, just able to see Jones open in the downfield in the end zone and give that nice big backhand across the space for the score.
Yeah, you may be thinking, is Avery Jones a handler? Is Avery Jones a cutter? But in the analysis by the WUL stat keepers, they are the player that is closest to 50-50 in terms of yard receptions, scores, assists, blocks. They're an all-around player. I think usually starting in the cutting space for this team, but really contributing on both sides of the disc, both as a handler and as a receiver. As a former teammate of hers, she is not a person I enjoy guarding.
No, just incredibly quick player in the handler space and a downfield threat. And if she catches it downfield, not quite in the end zone, you can expect her to throw it exactly where needed for the goal.
And Tajima with the disc. It looks like San Diego is throwing another zone look. Moving the disc quickly is the Oregon Onyx O-line, moving those handlers.
I wonder if we'll see an upside down. There it is. I was expecting it from Tajima, but we do have Eisenbray with that upside down look.
And all alone in the end zone, forgotten about
Valerie Peacock.
But with 3 scores now, I don't think Peacock is a player that you can just leave alone on the field.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll get to see a replay there and see if she was just staying in that space or if she was sneaky and saw Zajon get that disc and able to streak deep. Let's see that replay again. We see Steinfeld to Zajon, and then Zajon just seeing. It looks like Peacock was just waiting for that throw to go up.
She appeared as if by magic, but I think Zajon is very thankful to have an open receiver and have that clean hold. It is now up to the, as we've gone into the second quarter, we've kind of traded points, but Onyx is looking to make a comeback in this game. They're now within 2. They really want to stay that way and maybe get a break in this next point.
Yeah, we see the score is now 9-7 Bloom to Onyx. I think Onyx is coming back this quarter.
Iwamoto to Willis. Jones can't quite, I think Jones on Jones, right? Avery Jones, number 11, and JC Jones, number 10.
That is true.
There's a call upfield, Wilson holding the disc. This is a very big break chance for Onyx. They are within 30 yards of that end zone.
Is it coming in on? Coming in on 1. Freestyling 4.
Looks like we're pretty early in the stall count.
Inside flick. Aubrey Bishop with the laser deep, very far out the back.
I think just a touch of excitement for this break chance, but we'll see if Onyx is able to get another opportunity to break.
I get it. If you're on a D-line and you finally get a chance to get back in the game, sometimes you get a little hype. I think the one thing we don't doubt is that Onyx has throwers. They certainly have throwers who can put the disc deep, and I think that San Diego is going to have to respect that as we get into this game. Iwamoto with the lefty backhand reset to Willis in the middle.
Deanna Abrams able to take advantage of that underspace. Salvation seeing Diaz.
Looks like we may have not had a good pickup, or people are switching. Oh, and just too far. I was going to say, Super Bloom looked like they had an open person on the field. I don't know that Oregon Onyx matched up well on that, and they are lucky to get away with a turnover there. Wilson picking up, looking for a second opportunity at this breakthrough. This is an important point in this game.
I imagine we'll see a big look from Wilson. They are a capable thrower. There's an upside down throw.
It looks like it's to Bishop. Stall count rising.
Sherwood able to get that up line.
I love how calm Sherwood always looks with the disc. Swinging to the far side, almost a run through D. It looks like there is a timeout called.
I think at this point, with the give and take on both sides, that is a great call by the coaches to have that timeout and let some of the Oregon Onyx players swap out, get a couple O-line players in there, and also rest the D-line players who have been working very hard on this point.
Yeah, earned Ds in this point. The pressure is finally giving them these little cracks of opportunity for this players. We can see the coaches talking to their teams. Like I said earlier, it's an important point because suddenly they will be back within 1 if they can convert this break. I don't know if you can see from this camera angle, but the sun is setting. It is a really beautiful night out here to be playing Frisbee. We can see our WUL fans in the stands as we get this beautiful lighting on this field. I love the enthusiasm that you can see from Steinfeld and Coles there. There we go, pretty sunset here on this beautiful May night here at championship weekend. Onyx is setting up on offense. It looks like most of their regular O-line, and they are going to be starting in that vertical stack. I wouldn't be surprised to see them isolate the front of the stack. That's something that they are known for. So we might be looking at Kimber Coles. It looks like who's at the front of, maybe Kimber Coles who's at the front of the stack going deep. Oh no.
Looks like they haven't quite. Yeah, it looks like Danny Renzo in that position, front of the stack, and we have an isolated thrower without a dump because, like you said, they do look for that cut off of the front of the stack, but it does look like San Diego defense is prepared.
We are back. It is a poachy defensive look. Up and over the top and reeled in for a D by Alex Diaz. Immediately to Iwamoto. Back to Diaz. using that open side to Maldonado. Helton streaking deep. Oh, a little high. Steinfeld reels it in.
We'll see if Onyx offense is able to punch it in with this chance.
Here we go, an unguarded mark over there. Back in the middle to Tetlow, over to Zajon, to Runzo. They are holding onto the disc a long time. A lot of those options are closely covered by Super Bloom receivers. There we go to the other side, a pick called in the middle of the field. They will discuss where the disc comes back in and what the stall count is, but really resolving that quickly. There's no immediate look back. High pressure on all of these defensive. This is one that Oregon really wants to convert. Oh, another pick in the backfield.
Yeah, it looks like there might be a little bit of frantic energy from the Onyx cutters downfield as they are trying to get to the break side, as Super Bloom has put on a backhand mark, trying to push Onyx to the way space, how to think about it, which way is the way.
Oh, a backhand coming up. Zajon plucking it out of the air. Coles, and just miscuing on that upline cut. Maldonado picks up to Iwamoto. Salvation. A timeout called. 2 timeouts in this point, 1 called by each team.
It makes sense, you know, this point has been hard work for both sides, and now Super Bloom is able to reset the stall, rest. We'll see if they do any roster changes. And there we see that miscommunication again with Coles and looks like Charlie below. Just a little dish, hoping for that score and just not quite connecting. But Onyx really able to work against the tight defensive look from Super Bloom and get all the way up to the end zone line.
Yeah, it looks like Oregon Onyx is putting a totally new line back on, a defensive line, while many of the same players for Super Bloom are still in that squad. Maybe even exactly the same line without any substitutions at all.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that was partially, you know, a player decision, these players wanting to continue working on this point, trusting in each other to get the score. We do see, you know, these are the normal players we would see for Bloom offense, so it makes sense that they would want to stay on to score.
Yeah, it looks like maybe they have a split stack isolating Helton in this space, a poachy look from Oregon defense.
Definitely trying to gum up the lanes as they see Bloom set up.
Watch Oka on the mark. Big throw goes up from Maldonado, looking to Helton, 2 Oregon Onyx defensive players. And really great effort on reading that by Helton. I don't think that was where Maldonado wanted to put that frisbee. Watch Oka with the frisbee. Great grab, landing inbounds. And a missed throw after that.
Looks like Bloom is taking a breath, trying to get things set up before.
I was going to say Iwamoto walking by the disc. But no, maybe a veteran play in trying to get a little bit of a breather for that offensive line.
Looks like this poachy D look from Onyx really stifling the downfield for Bloom. Able to move through it.
Pajunis to the far side to Salvation. Helton to Diaz. Diaz up and over, and a D from Oregon Onyx. That player, number 25, is the player who towed it in on this end zone line and then threw it back. I think I would be glad to get that D, earn that D back for Egan, number 25.
Egan really working hard on this point.
Watch Oka through the middle. Space. Back to, and then a sad turnover to watch Oka as that stall count rose. Maldonado wastes no time putting it up. A big grab, and that is a hold for Salvation in that Oregon point. That was a long point. Super Bloom maintains their 3-point lead and takes a good 3 minutes off of the clock in that point.
Yeah.
Really, really great play from both sides. High intensity. You can see this blading throw and an absolute layout catch there from number 48, Julia Salvation.
And that looks like it will be 3 assists for Ilse Maldonado in this game so far. And again, we see Salvation with the celebration after that huge layout grab, and that is 2 goals for Salvation. Just really able to take advantage of that cutter streaking deep, and Maldonado's throw able to connect after a couple of miscues earlier in the point, just able to get it to space and for a score as well.
Yeah, my heart breaks for that Oregon D-line, though. They had so many chances at that possession right on the end zone line and missed just a couple of missed throws. I think that they'll watch this game back and see that could be a turning point. If they can hold here very quickly, though, they will put the pressure back on Super Bloom. Oh, and just a little bit of a miscue in that handler space.
I think the tight defensive handler D from Super Bloom is making those easy cuts that Onyx is used to a little bit more rushed, and those throws are coming off in behind or 2 in front of the players.
Yeah. Avery back to Iwamoto, to Avery Jones. Iwamoto heading up line. A travel called. Maybe? A call. A pick called.
Pick called downfield. I understand you thinking that it might have been a travel call on Avery Jones. Quick handler like Jones is often susceptible to having a travel called on her.
To Iwamoto, to Jones, to Helton, looking to Ellis, who toes it in. That was a really good goal, clean score, good awareness on that end zone line from Ellis. And I think that Oregon can feel the defensive pressure mounting from San Diego. They are really relentless in their pressure. Their person defense is so close and making it really difficult to have any sort of momentum build.
And then we do see that's 9 different players now with assists on Super Bloom. So really a depth of roster, trusting their end zone set, anyone able to throw those goals in end zone. And Ellis, normally a handler, scoring that goal. So just a team that is adaptable and able to play the position needed of them in the moment.
Yes, we see a similar O-line out there for Oregon Onyx. Sherwood back on the field, Kimber Coles, Claudia Tajima, Ali Steinfeld. Pajunis is here to pull, but this line really needs to have a hold here for Onyx to keep their hopes in this game, especially with only 1 minute and 42 seconds left in this half. Sherwood with the disc from Eisenbray. Out to Steinfeld, or sorry, Tajima to Sherwood.
Does look like a zone D.
To Runzo. Back to Sherwood, to Runzo, to Tajima, to Eisenbray. Runzo streaking upfield, back to Sherwood. This quick movement is exactly what they need. Eisenbray looking for an outlet, looks off Tajima, back to Sherwood. Finds a hole there, through the middle, trying to break that zone. Out to the side to Eisenbray again. A big flick from Eisenbray to a streaking Kimber Coles. 2 defenders, but that disc belongs to Kimber Coles. I love those fuchsia cleats. It makes it so easy. Both seeking, out finding, out reading that disc. What a fantastic play from Kimber Coles.
Just amazing positioning, able to read that disc so well. And it was Eisenbray that put that up, just trusting Kimber Coles to get the goal.
Really great grab. I think that's the third score for Kimber Coles. Oregon really benefiting from having her in this game when she wasn't in the last one. It's a cutter that looks a little not presupposing, maybe not going to do anything, but Kimber Coles will absolutely punish any sort of inattention you pay to her.
And I really liked the handler movement from Onyx on that point, just working against the Bloom zone, getting those quick dishes, finding the hole. That kind of patience really pays off against these zone looks from Bloom.
Yeah. Iwamoto picking up to Willis. I've said that many times now. Back to Iwamoto. To Diaz. Looking for Salvation. Salvation going deep. And Julia
Oh my
Sherwood
goodness!
gets it deep, but Salvation manages to reel it in. Salvation showing her stripes with never giving up on that disc. She is worthy of being celebrated for her teammates like that. The crowd is coming alive. That is exactly the kind of play we want to see from Salvation.
It actually looks like there might be a travel called
Oh, my heart.
far back on the play, but I do have to say, what an incredible grab from Salvation.
Also, what an incredible defensive play from Julia Sherwood. We're looking at this again as they figured out defensive play, and Salvation getting it. If that doesn't make Sports Center, I don't know sports. It's going to come back. Clearly, the fans are not sad, but I think we as highlight reel film fans are going to be happy with that play. Disc is back in. It is with Walter on the sideline, finding a Salvation. Back to Walter. Out to Willis. Walter looking for Diaz. Oregon's defense really stopping this, making their handlers reset. High stall count.
Messner able to save that disc from Willis.
A travel call. Disc is tapped back in. Back to Willis. A good break around to Walter. Finding that inside to Avery Jones.
Just a little bit of a double score. There was that travel call, but Jones able to reel it in for the score there. And just a great movement from Bloom and incredible defensive pressure from Onyx.
Absolutely. Also really good mental fortitude by Super Bloom. Sometimes when you have a big play like that called back, you can feel the momentum shift, and the team, to their credit, continued to play good offense, working through the entire thing and not giving the disc back. It's that kind of mental play that really leaves things. And I don't know if Avery Jones is excited, but that... Yes, that is a player who shares her joy for Frisbee and Ultimate with everyone around her. I'm sad we didn't get to see a little bit of a...
Let's see.
There's a score. And I
Jones.
think we should take another look at this layout. It is pretty fantastic, but if not, we are here on this next point. Super Bloom on defense with Pajunis pulling.
I'm sure it'll make a highlight reel with that defensive play by Sherwood and then the snag bid by Salvation.
So time has run out. Onyx has the rest of this possession, so it is theirs until they turn it over or score. Steinfeld with the reception, a pick in the middle of the field. It looks like Super Bloom is playing a person defense.
No style. Okay, is everyone set? Everyone's good? All right, it's coming in on 1. Pre-stall. 4, 3, 2.
There's a call.
Oh!
That was a miraculous layout bid from Kelly Iwamoto on Kimber Coles. Unfortunately, there was a call on the throw, at least one continuation go, so the disc will go back to Allie Steinfeld. You can see
the teammates just celebrating such a impressive bid from Iwamoto. I think there was a smile on her face just before it looks like.
I mean, wouldn't you smile if you were making plays like that?
Yeah, about to fly through the air.
It's hard to be upset with that.
Here you go with Onyx with the disc.
Big fakes moving the defense back into the middle. Churning through those vertical stack cuts, finding an outlet on the outside with number 14. And a big reception by Allie Steinfeld. Back to the middle, really grinding those discs. 11 with the reception on the outside. Good possession. Remember that Onyx has to keep possession here. The time has run out, but this is an important point for them in this point. Hammer, and oh, just through the fingers of Allie Steinfeld. And that is the end of the second quarter. We are now at halftime with San Diego Superbloom leading Oregon Onyx 13-8. What would your keys from this half, Mako?
From this half, I would actually highlight just Onyx really tightening things up in the second quarter of this first half. Just putting their heads down, grinding. I feel like they might have had some nerves in the first quarter that they shook out and were able to just have a few less of those miscommunication drops. There was that one long point in the second quarter.
The longest point.
that I think you said took 3 minutes of the quarter.
At least out of that clock. I think that the intensity that we saw definitely rose up. We've seen very physical plays from both teams, but especially the defense is on Superbloom. We have a interview down on the field with Manisha Daryani interviewing Coach Angela Wells.
Hey, this is Manisha Daryani here, down here at field level with head coach Angela Wells. Angela, you've had some monster games coming out of Alex Diaz, a monster game out of Maldonado, but you know, the big story for you is that you don't have as many handlers as you normally do. What's the story?
We are missing Lindsay Lang and also Samantha WUL. And yeah, I like to be able to control everything, and unfortunately there's some things I can't control, but I'm so proud of the team for stepping up. Some of our O-line handlers are filling in. Some of our secondary D-line handlers are really stepping up to the plate. I'm really proud of this team for working hard and grinding out the first half, and I'm sure we can do it the second half too.
Absolutely. You do have a second half of play to see, so I know you're very obviously reputable for wanting to switch up your defenses. What are we going to see in the second half?
I think our match defense has been really, really strong. We anticipated that they would be ready for the junks that we threw against them when we were in Utah, so we wanted to change it up a little bit. It looks like our match defense is looking good, so we'll probably stick with that a little bit. And yeah, we will keep the pedal to the metal, and we know that this is a veteran team that knows how to come back from a deficit, so we will not let up. We will continue to finish this fight and close this game out.
Well, it's going to be an incredible second half, I'm sure, but let me ask you this. Who do you think of your players is going to have a standout second half?
Oh gosh, after that catch by Julia Salvacion, it's hard to imagine that she won't blow up in that second half. I'm bummed that it couldn't stand, but I'm sure she will continue to dominate. Kayla Helton and Kristin Pajunis on D are just stalwarts, and they make things happen every play and every quarter and every half. So I would imagine they will continue to do what they do best.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Have a great second half, and back to you upstairs.
As you see the beautiful sun setting, and you can see some Oregon players throwing in the foreground, we're going to take it out from our halftime here at the Western Ultimate League Championship semifinals with San Diego Superbloom and Oregon Onyx.
We believe that women and non-binary athletes deserve to be seen and our abilities showcased for the world to see.
We believe in perpetuating Ultimate by establishing professional teams and developing.
Welcome back to the Western Ultimate League coverage of our championship weekend, this semifinal game between Oregon Onyx and San Diego Superbloom. I am Katie Killebrew commentating here with Mako. We're in halftime. For those of you we lost, we had a small power outage, but honestly, halftime is the best time it could have happened. We have another interview for you, this time with Oregon's player. We will let Manisha Daryani introduce.
And Manisha Daryani down here at the floor level here with Danny Renzo, already with 1 goal today. I mean, now, first of all, let's just talk about the temperatures have cooled quite a bit. How do you think that's affecting this game?
I think we're all very happy to see that. We're from Oregon. It's a lot cooler there right now. When we were warming up, it was pretty toasty, so I think we're a little more in our element now.
Well, now that you're in your element, know that you are down 4. What adjustments do you think your coaches are talking about right now to make for the second half?
Yeah, I think Super Bloom did a really good job of scouting our game. They obviously know that we like to huck it a lot and have put out some really good poaches to help slow that down. That being said, there are a lot of open undercuts that we just need to hit and execute and keep our head in this game. A lot of ultimate left.
Definitely, and also one of the other things we're seeing upstairs is that they're really trying to shut down your resets right now as well. I know, recognizing you're downfield, hopefully that's something that your team is talking about for the second half.
Yeah, of course. They're playing some really nice tight defense as we get closer to that end zone. We just need to trust each other. There's a lot of space on that field. Put it out into the right space and play our game.
Well, I hope you have a great second half, okay? Good luck.
Thank you.
Back upstairs to you all.
And welcome back as we head into our third quarter. We've been looking at this game, talking about some players. Mako, if you had some players to highlight from San Diego Super Bloom, who would you be talking about from their play in that first half?
I mean, I think there's a few obvious answers. Alex Diaz with, 4 goals and multiple assists on the board already. And of course, Salvation with 2 amazing bidding grabs, but we can touch more on that after this quick break as we head into the second half.
We believe that women and non-binary athletes deserve to be seen and our abilities showcased for the world to see.
We believe in perpetuating Ultimate by establishing professional teams and developing future generations of players.
We believe players of all identities and backgrounds deserve an equal opportunity to be recognized and lauded for our achievements in our sport.
We believe in sustainably and responsibly creating equitable and accessible avenues for women and non-binary athletes to join and participate in our sport.
We believe that being transparent,
open,
and responsive to criticism is critical,
and that there should always be space
to fix our mistakes, grow,
and be better.
We are the Western Ultimate League.
So we were just talking before this break about highlighting a couple players from Bloom from the first half. Now let's talk about Oregon Onyx. Who would you highlight going into the second half, based off of the first half and how they have been performing so far?
I mean, I think we have to talk about number 56, Valerie Peacock, with 3 scores in this game. Maybe a player that most people didn't know, but certainly making a name for themselves here in this game, making an impact against this very tight, very aggressive Super Bloom defense. There's a couple things that I think Oregon needs to do in this game, and the first thing is have a clean hold. They need to make sure that they're not turning over the disc. They're currently being forced to hold the disc for a long time. You can see that both teams, I think maybe Onyx has more clean holds, but they have more total turnovers. And really the telling thing is they aren't converting those break chances. So their defensive line, when they get those Ds, is going to have to make plays. They're going to have to make plays, Mako.
Yeah, I think we can expect to see Onyx really trying to get those break chances converted and up those percentages. I think a great strategy for them is on those break chances, recognizing the kind of defense that Bloom is putting against them and using what Super Bloom gives them.
Yeah, something we haven't seen yet. You can see on this Oregon D-line, Claudia Tajima is going to have the pull. Usually an O-line handler for Onyx, and maybe they're using that player to try to have an impact when they get the turn. Right now we see Iwamoto centering the disc to Willis. To Helton in the middle. Currently unmarked. To Pajunis. To Diaz.
Looks like
trying to reset over the defender to Iwamoto. Break around to Willis. And just a little too much sauce there for Pajunis.
Player just couldn't quite catch up. I think what we were seeing on the Oregon defense was just picking up the cutters as they go in for those undercuts. Oh, a big crossfield look for Onyx, and we see a player streaking deep but not looked off from the thrower.
Tajima back with the disc, and again putting a big throw. Pajunis trying to D. Really aggressive play there, making the no contest signal on Egan there with the great focus for that reception.
You know what's kind of funny about the no contest signal? It kind of reminds me of the "Are you not entertained?"
Maybe
gesture.
a little bit, but Pajunis there is receiving a yellow card for the play on that disc coming into the back of Egan in an unsafe way.
Yeah, definitely a lot of physicality on that play.
Holding the disc, finds an outlet with Tajima, hammer, and a little bit too fast there for the reception.
Yeah, we typically see those hammer looks, those overhead looks from Tajima, just laser point accuracy, able to connect with the receiver.
Well, maybe the hammer needs to be more than 15 yards. Maybe it's only the precision on the deep receptions. Helton with it in the middle to Jones. Dishing back to Helton. Out to Maldonado. To Diaz. Diaz with a big flick going up. Again, this Pajunis-Egan matchup. Egan coming down with the disc. Tajima. A big backhand, uncorked, trying to be run down, and just beyond the fingertips of the bidding player. Diaz in the area, but really close there. Super Bloom has already picked up the disc, centering to Iwamoto.
I think there
to Diaz.
Might have been a call from Dennehy, but it looks like played through.
To Jones. Back to Helton. Jones taking off again. Back to Pajunis.
Looks like Bloom is now in their end zone set.
Maldonado. Looking it to Helton on the sideline. Back to the center to Jones with a quick backhand release to Maldonado.
And again on Onyx for that huge look downfield, that was Dennehy with the bid that just barely missed that throw, but an incredibly athletic, huge play from Dennehy, and just inches away.
I think that the slow-mo replay on that is going to be quite entertaining, but this, you can see Dennehy examining their hand after they had that play. That turf is sometimes a little bit of a burn. That was, I think, Maldonado to Jones. Nope. And here we can see this play again. You can see absolutely laying out just beyond the fingertips. That is full effort. And you can see this giant throw going up again from another angle. So the disappointment from Dennehy.
Yeah, and again, we see on the score there, Jones to Maldonado in the end zone. And we are back now with Onyx with the disc. Oh, and a flying Onyx player just misses the throw. Super Bloom now with an opportunity. Now with an opportunity to score. Looks like Sarah Zhang picking up.
To Iwamoto in the middle. Ellis making an upline cut. Looking upfield. Breaks back around to Zhang. Looking for that reset. And blading trying not to turn it over on that stall count, but couldn't quite make that reset happen. Oregon Onyx getting another chance for their O-line to keep this hold.
Looks like we had Danny Renzo picking up with the disc for Onyx. And we do have Tetlow in that first space. But call on the field. Stall called. And it looks like no contest. The stall will be upheld, and Super Bloom right on the end zone line, ready to take or score another break.
Yeah, Ellis picking up to Iwamoto. Back to Ellis, to Helton, to Ellis.
Wow, what a little give and go, playing with your friends out there, just back and forth. Ellis again with another score. I believe that is 2 goals now for Ellis.
Yeah, and that's a break, their first break out into this third quarter of this second half. That was really good movement. I think throwing and going, we talked about Ellis at the beginning of the game as a handler who needed to make those plays with teammates Lang and WUL unable to make it for this game. And Ellis absolutely stepping into those shoes and making big plays. We had a stall on that point. And I always had coaches tell me that a stall is a sign of good team defense. So nobody actually getting a D in that point, but every single player on Super Bloom is shutting down their matchup, which means that Oregon Onyx has absolutely no one to throw to.
Yeah, as head coach Angela Wells noted in our halftime interview, they are really trying to play that hard person defense, and I think Super Bloom has come out the second half proving that they're doing amazing at it, but we do see a little bit of a poachy look here.
Yeah, Milbray back to Sherwood. Sherwood trying to gesture, telling teammates where she wants them. Tojima.
Pajunis right there hunting for that block.
Back to Sherwood, over to Milbray. Eisenbray. Sherwood to Eisenbray.
Eisenbray just shredding through this poachy look, really moving the disc. Look at that, across the field.
To Zajan. Can't quite make that connection.
Wondering if there is a call.
I think there
injury call
might be an injury call from Zajan. You can see them moving and maybe that knee or ankle not totally supporting them. We can see number 12, Ali Steinfeld, coming on for Zajan. But that would be a very big loss for Oregon Onyx if Zajan is not able to come back into that game.
Yeah, it's possible it might be a cramp. As we were saying, it has cooled down for this game, but today was a extremely hot day, and it's possible it is affecting these players from Oregon used to cooler weather.
Well, in the choice between cramp and injury, I choose cramp.
Definitely.
Big throw from Teresa Feng to a streaking Kayla Helton all the way down. Big layout, and that is why Kayla Helton is a World's Game player, making big plays. Pajunis back to Helton on the end zone line, calm, looking for Ellis, back to Helton with the score.
An amazing point for Helton. Just, running down that disc like a full field sprint, and then able to snag that score from an assist by Ellis. Just a beautiful play, and that throw again from Feng. We see it go up. And it looks like Helton grabbing it now with 2 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah, Ellis being involved in both of those scores, that time getting the assist. I think Helton and Ellis like throwing it to each other, don't you think?
I think they definitely trust each other as players, and Ellis knows 9 times, 10 times out of 10, Helton will come down with the disc in the end zone.
No, you score. No, you score. No. No, you score. We can see this D-line coming back. Pajunis with a big score. A big pull coming down. We see A slightly different line now for Oregon Onyx. Some of those D-line players coming over, trying to get a spark going against this San Diego zone that's really giving these players trouble. Moving the disc back, now it's centered out to Runzo. Back to, I think, Tetlow that is. Runzo with a layout to retain possession.
Looking for Jones.
JC Jones is actually one of the defensive block leaders for this Onyx team. Steinfeld open behind, low release but keeps possession. Jones on the other side.
Looks like Super Bloom has broken down. There's some contact there. Looks like Danny Runzo is calling a foul on that contact, both players having gone down to the ground.
Yes, becoming one with the turf for that effort right there. We can see that the observers are getting clear on what the stall is coming back in on, and number 11, Chris Beaulieu with the disc over to Steinfeld. Big forehand up into space, many players in the area.
Oh my goodness, just a little bit of bouncing between the different players there, and it looks like number 14, Roberts,
Kristin
able to save
Roberts. There were players that were already getting ready to make a foul call on that pass, but Roberts is there to pick up that just ground level pass. Allie Steinfeld, I think, with her 4th assist for this game.
Yeah, and I think Allie Steinfeld, you know, technically identifies as a cutter, but of course, you know, a huge threat as a thrower. Once she gets that cut and gets that disc, able to just put that disc all the way to the end zone, and then here we do see it bounce between several players.
I love the celebration from Kimber Coles, just an absolutely exuberant celebration of that layout catch. That is a sorely needed catch from this Oregon side. They finally have their D-line back on the field. They have time in this quarter, but they are going to need a block and a score if they're going to come back in this semifinal game. Maldonado to Willis, to Jones, to Willis. 4-person cut for Onyx. Maldonado shredding it to Salvation. Stall count rising in that zone. Finds an outlet to Willis, around to Iwamoto. Blade over the top to Diaz. To
Deanna Abrams getting that disc from Diaz, resetting it back to Willis.
Yeah, Oregon coming into transitioning to a person defense, but Iwamoto unguarded. Maldonado on the doorstep. Hard person defense. Tight resets on the Iwamoto, but gets it off. Swinging across the field, but Willis cannot rein it in. That is great defensive pressure and transition from that Oregon D-line. It looks like Sherwood is picking it up, trying to get it moving. A blade goes up to the far side. Iwamoto in pursuit, but JC Jones cannot make the catch. Iwamoto picking up, immediately starting that offense back to Diaz, to Jones. Those UC San Diego teammates moving the disc. There to Abrams, who lays out to save possession. Resets to Avery Jones, to Iwamoto.
A little clogged up. They need to get into their end zone set.
Abrams. Iwamoto. Such good breaks around. Willis with the bobble and the catch. Tight defense from Oregon Onyx. And again, Iwamoto getting that late stall count reset. Willis to Diaz. Diaz is a hard person to guard in that end zone, and she's been there all night with 5 scores for Alex Diaz.
Yeah, that was great defensive pressure by Oregon Onyx. And then we were able to see, you know, Super Bloom capitalize on that turn and then get into their end zone set. We see here Willis again trusting Diaz, as she should, for the score.
Exactly. I think that you can hear the difference in the way the game is being called. When I'm talking about San Diego Super Bloom, I'm saying player after player and move after move. And when I'm talking about the Oregon Onyx offense, it's one player. They're holding the disc longer, and they're just not making those connections in the deep space. They need to start moving the disc a little bit faster. They have the capability. They can do it, but they just need to start moving that disc a little bit faster because they're going to run out of clock.
Yeah, and I think that is, we can attribute some of that to Super Bloom's defense, really pressuring those downfield looks,
Finally moving it. Zajon with the disc. Moving up the field quickly. Runzo has it. The Super Bloom are on their heels, holding it a little bit, letting that defense settle in. Finds a reset around. Tajima with the disc. Looking to Eisenbray with pressure.
And that's Neha Weinkenker with the pressure on Eisenbray.
Oh, they were moving the disc so well. I felt so smart as a commentator. And then as they held on to it, they just couldn't make those connections. Finding Helton, uncorking a disc. It is Salvation. And that is an amazing catch. You're right.
That's actually bookends for Neha Weinkenker. Able to get that D on Eisenbray and then getting the score. An amazing play for that player. And what a put. And that is another assist for Kayla Helton, putting her at 3 assists now in this game. And there is that D again with Weinkenker and Eisenbray going against each other. And then Weinkenker running into that end zone, that disc just floating perfectly for that bookends, and Helton with that assist.
Oh, I feel like I have whiplash in that point. It was just so fast from when Super Bloom got the turn to when they scored. It was immediate. Oregon wasn't able to get back in position in their defense. They weren't able to stop the momentum of Super Bloom. You can see Pajunis out there yet again pulling for the disc. We have a vertical stack looking like it's coming up for Onyx. Runzo picks up.
And then Iwamoto just heads up, able to see that disc where Onyx wanted it and take it.
To Iwamoto.
Stamba with the disc. Oh, and a heads up D, and Onyx gets it right back.
Yeah, Zajon back on the field. Good to see that. Getting blocks. Really strong faking game there. Disc goes to Ali Steinfeld. A big backhand goes up. Still flying, but that receiver was not quite in that space ready to receive it. Super Bloom is going to get another chance at this. Roberts just wasn't in the same neighborhood as that frisbee was.
Yeah, and we do see the clock is running down, and we are getting close to the end of this point. The time should be stopping, but we are nearing the end of this quarter as Super Bloom has possession of the disc.
Iwamoto back with the disc on the far side to Duran.
Rutland with a grab.
Stambaugh. They will get to retain possession here. So the announcer catches. Sometimes the aggressive countdown can be misleading for players, but this possession is what happens. So as long as Super Bloom does not turn over the disc, right? Oregon really needs to get this block here. One more point for Super Bloom is not what Oregon Onyx needs, but it is unfortunately thrown away.
And right before that, just a little bit overthrown for Duran. We did see, that little give and go with Ellis and Helton just moving it up with these little dishes, using what Oregon is giving them. And that is the end of the third quarter here for the Super Bloom Onyx game. And going into the fourth quarter, we have Super Bloom at 17 and Onyx at 9. Here's some fans for Super Bloom in the stands.
Yes. My favorite are the canine fans. More of those, not less of those. But Super Bloom's defense taking over and significantly outscoring Oregon Onyx in that third quarter. Super Bloom leads 17 to Oregon Onyx 9. We have 1 quarter of action left. Don't go anywhere. We'll be coming back right after this quarter. Welcome back to the fourth quarter of our semifinal of the Western Ultimate League Championships between Oregon Onyx and San Diego Super Bloom. San Diego Super Bloom leading 17-9. That third quarter was a big momentum shift in favor of San Diego. They outscored Onyx 5-1 in that last quarter, taking a lot of time out of the clock and really, I think, hurting the hearts of Oregon Onyx, right? It feels hard to score that many times, to be scored on that many times. But I think that if a team can come back from that, it is this Onyx team.
Yeah, I would not count Onyx out in this fourth quarter. They are an impressive roster with a lot of depth, a lot of great throwers. Even against, you know, one of Super Bloom's zone looks, they were able to throw those tricky inside throws, over the top throws, and they're definitely a threat in the throwing space. I think what we're seeing and what we've discussed is that it's the downfield where things are getting gummed up, where the Super Bloom defense is shutting them down and making it more difficult for them to gain those yards.
Exactly, but this game is one momentum shift away from opening up. Currently, the momentum is with San Diego Super Bloom, who's been making those big plays, but we've seen big layouts, Ds, and other plays from this Onyx line. There we go. We have Runzo with the disc fighting again against this San Diego zone look. Bulio with the disc over to the other sideline, slowly making their way closer to that end zone. I think that's what Super Bloom wants them to do. Giving and going with the handlers, losing yards a little bit, trying to find that outlet, still not moving very far. This zone is really working. Runzo keeps possession alive, finally up the sideline to Roberts. Back to Beaulieu. Out on the far side, JC Jones leaving. And it looks like didn't make that catch, so close. Almost laying on that disc. Maybe JC Jones doesn't know her own strength in terms of how far that player can lay out.
Yeah, an amazing run from JC Jones, just really able to speed down and catch up to that disc that was, you know, laser accuracy to the end zone. Let's see on D what Onyx can do to stop Super Bloom's momentum.
Yeah, Iwamoto and Ellis playing catch, now out to Diaz. Back to Ellis.
Looks like a holster throw there. Just some more catch with Iwamoto and Ellis, a familiar routine for these players.
Far side to Pajunis. Back to Ellis. It looks like the Onyx team is playing a little bit more of a poachy look, slowing down the momentum of these San Diego players a little bit. Iwamoto finding Helton out in space on the sideline, who immediately zips it to Pajunis. Pajunis, a big backhand to the far side, and it is well read
by Rutland, who dishes it back to Iwamoto.
Helton back to Ellis. Diaz again, so flirty with the front of that end zone line. 6 scores tonight for Alex Diaz. Another assist for Rebecca Ellis. Those former UC San Diego teammates really making their chemistry felt on this line.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that San Diego Super Bloom excels at, I mean, there's many things that they excel at, but their end zone set seems to be something that they are all extremely comfortable with. And it looks like Ellis is 2 for 2 on these assists.
2 assists, 2 goals. She is too hot to handle. That is actually what we want to see from these players. I love the smiles from Iwamoto. I think we talked about Iwamoto earlier getting a D while smiling and laying out, which is, I think, the type of players they are. There's a lot of joy on this that you can see on the San Diego sideline. The Oregon sideline looking a little bit more subdued, but with so many experienced players, they're trying to find the chemistry together. I wouldn't be surprised if more of the Oregon Fugue teammates start playing on the same lines. Pull goes up. Eisenberg catching the pull immediately to Sherwood. Sherwood to the far side to Coles. Those are 2 of the Oregon Fugue teammates. To Steinfeld, catching from the hands of the D.
Yeah, that was a good defensive poach from Helton right there but Oregon
Finding
Onyx
the other
able
side to Sherwood. Back to Steinfeld. And that is the kind of movement that we wanted to see from Oregon Onyx, using the disc on both sidelines. I think Sherwood really being a catalyst in that point to move the disc quickly, and Steinfeld finding those big over-the-top spaces.
And here we see again the replay, Steinfeld with the disc to Sherwood, back to Steinfeld for the score. Just nice, clean forward movement between players, seeing that they're, you know, with a give and go, once you give it, you're most likely the most open player, and Steinfeld definitely taking advantage of that, and Sherwood.
Yeah, that is Steinfeld's first goal, but it has 5 assists, and that's the first assist for Sherwood. I'd like to see Sherwood get more involved in this game. Usually a disc distributor, a big defensive player, and a calm presence for them. But as we see the time dwindling down in this, we see Wilson pulling, but we really need more players
Looks like
to make big plays.
Rolling pool. Let's see what
Center
Onyx.
to Walter, to Diaz. Back to Walter.
Looks like we are seeing Onyx poaching a little bit off of the. Oh, and it looks like a heads up D for Wilson. They're able to come down with that.
To Bishop. Diaz on the line again, but otherwise a very different line for San Diego Superbloom. Backhand, lasers to the far side. And Sherwood finding the front of the end zone.
Yeah, you just voiced how you
kick spike there from Julia Sherwood.
You just voiced how you wish that Sherwood would be there for more assists, but looks like Sherwood is there for the goal. Just able to capitalize on that space, and then we see that beautiful look cross field, and there she goes. That backing up to make sure it's a goal and not just a catch on the end zone line isolated.
Yes, so we can talk about the awareness from Sherwood, but you can see the assist from Lindsay Wilson. They made such a pinpoint precision throw. That lefty player for Onyx making a backhand throw into space, that inside backhand, is a miraculous throw. The vision needed for that. Wilson, please make more plays like that. I need more excitement in this game. Tajima with the pull, and maybe a little bit, please, momentum for Oregon. That was their first break in a long time.
Yeah, we see Onyx really running down on that pull, trying to get D set up as quickly as possible, letting Bloom know that they are there to put the pressure on. Messner with the disc, shooting it, and Jessica Wan with the score.
Superbloom, when they are firing, is so hard to stop because they threw it to 6, if not all 7 players on that line to get it going. I think Oregon Onyx was maybe trying to have a poachy set or something, but it really just let spaces open up and unguarded players catch it. Natasha Wan coming down, that is another UC San Diego player.
Yeah, actually Jessica Wan, but yes, UC
Sorry,
San.
Natasha Wan is a player for Falcons. Our correspondent Manisha Dariani pointing out that I have the wrong player. That is Jessica Wan there in the concussion helmet. A player here in San Diego for a long time, playing with California Burrito and UC San Diego, making a name for themselves in college, especially with that high pressure reception. Right there.
And you know, Blair Messner, another California Burrito player in the club mix scene, so has to help with the chemistry on that score. And then we see Bloom pulling once again to Onyx.
That pull going out of bound, going to be picked up by Boulieu and centered. Oregon Onyx setting up in their vert stack again with no resets. It looks like San Diego is in a person set. Allie Steinfeld making that first cut.
Oh my God, and that's a body block from Neha Weinkenker from a huge huck from Allie Steinfeld. I hope she's okay. Like, great block, but that is a powerful throw to stand in front of.
That is a very strong disc to the maybe face, maybe neck, arm, shoulder.
Whatever part
that blocked,
that had to hurt.
I heard it from here.
Let's see that again. Here we are. Oh, yep, that is to the wrist.
Yes.
Yep, shaking it off, but a great block on such a huge thrower for Onyx. And we see Super Bloom again going into their end zone set. A huge throw to the back of the end zone from Ellis to Zoe Tesler for a score. An amazing look from Ellis, just able to see that the back of the end zone is open. And that is 12 players with assists on San Diego Super Bloom now, just showing you the depth of roster on San Diego Super Bloom, how comfortable every one of these players is throwing for the score. One more time, that huge block.
I think I might have taken an injury after taking an impact like that.
No, it looks like Neha just, shook it off, kept going.
That is some fortitude in face of a very big huck. I was getting very excited to talk about that full field huck. There was a deep reception going there. That is Rebecca Ellis, who we talked about at the beginning of the game. But that was such a switch back and forth between offense and defense. Here we go again for Oregon Onyx. Wataoka picking up to Claudia Tajima. Person set. Out to Wilson.
Ooh, looks like they want to put it up to their downfield cutter.
There we go.
Amy Turner with that deep cut open.
Holding the disc. It must have, there we go, an outlet finally found with Bishop, it looks like. Up and over and in the end zone. That is a clean hold for Oregon Onyx. Number 19, Talia Barth with the catch.
And that was a really clean, much needed point from Oregon Onyx. We see again here, just able to get that to
finally using that break side.
Yeah, to the break side. And before that score, there was the huck to Amy Turner in the deep zone. And I think that's what Onyx needs to continue to do if they want to come back in this quarter. Just looking for those open cutters deep, or taking those cutters, turning around from a deep cut and gaining yards on an under.
Exactly. And Julia Sherwood to pull. They're going to need to have some quick scores in order to come back from this 8-point deficit. Willis to Iwamoto, switched by the Oregon Onyx players, finding Jones in the middle, laying out for possession. Alex Diaz, a Blady flick looking like it's going to Jones. But that is a big defensive play by Dennehy.
Dennehy with a lot of great defensive pressure for Onyx.
Sherwood immediately to Jones. Unsure what happened, but looks like maybe an injury called. Really good job to save possession there by Jones in the face of something happening to their leg right there. It looks like number 91 is going to come on, Amy Turner, who just had that reception, going to pick up the disc.
Yeah, really hoping Jones is okay after that. It looks like the injury is what caused her to hit the ground, but again, such athleticism to still maintain possession in the wake of an injury.
Up and over the top to Julia Sherwood, under pressure, and a big throw to two receivers. It looks like Egan catches it. Turner with the disc. Sherwood fighting for that reception. Calmly looking on the end zone line, but a immediate D and reception. San Diego Super Bloom is again off to the races. Jessica Wan with the reception. Iwamoto out to the other side. Back to Wan. Back to Iwamoto playing give and go at the end zone. I'm sure Coach Alicia Stown is happy with that fundamental offensive play. A timeout is called by Coach Angela Wells.
I think that was a great decision. Iwamoto was a little bit isolated there as the rest of Super Bloom was pushing upfield to get into their end zone set. So the stall count was probably getting up there. And so Angela Wells made the call, you know, given it is fourth quarter. Let's take a timeout. Let's get that stall reset. And they now have the opportunity to just get set up exactly where they want for their end zone set. And let's take a look at some highlights for one of our Super Bloom players, Kayla Helton.
This looks like it's a different game, but it's the same game. This was just at the beginning of the game before the sun is set. Helton really moving quickly with the disc, assisting, scoring, getting big Ds. This is, I think, one of the highlights of the game. This full field reception.
And then, you know, just some yardage gain there in the bid after running down that disc.
Yeah, Helton is another player who just really loves Frisbee, and I love seeing how much that player shares the love of Frisbee with all of her teammates.
Yeah, and definitely making a difference, you know, being on the roster against Onyx this game where she was not at the Wild Showdown.
Wild weekend.
The last time that Super Bloom and Onyx faced each other. So I think Super Bloom is glad to have her.
Disc is coming in. Willis with a sneaky break. Iwamoto continuing around to Jones. Tight defense, but an unguarded Diaz in the end zone. My goodness, the end zone down here is her best friend. Padding the stats for Alex Diaz tonight with seven goals.
Yeah, and I think it's really at this point, you know, someone like Avery Jones getting the disc in front of the end zone, you can see her waiting for Diaz to get open, trusting that Diaz will get open in the end zone.
Yes. Walter, I think, saying, I was open too.
Yeah, they were both there, both using that open space, and Diaz coming down, so now with 7 goals in this game. Yeah, I don't think the thumb injury is really affecting her play in this game.
Currently, no. Currently, the thumb is a non-factor.
Maybe it's helping.
Maybe. I think that you have to respect the Super Bloom players because there are so many players there who can reliably break the mark and move the disc so quickly. As a defense, if you can never get set, it's really hard to get into a rhythm and get those blocks that Oregon so desperately needs. Their O-line is coming out. Again, a couple of new players. I love all the bright cleats. It helps me. But picking up Runzo to the disc to Beaulieu.
We had that vert stack look. Allie Steinfeld coming out of the middle of that stack, putting it up. Looks like we might have, Kimber Coles in the end zone. Just able to trust her in a stack of players to come down with that disc. Again, a player who was missing in the last time that these two teams faced off and making a difference for Onyx. And it looks like that is 5 assists for Allie Steinfeld and 4 goals for Coles.
4 goals for Coles. They don't call her Kimber Goals for no reason. I think it's a very well-earned nickname. This is such a good play. 2 defenders in this space, absolutely perfectly read by Coles, putting the disc where that player can get it. Coles is not tall, but certainly has the verticality of play, going straight up.
Look at that reaction.
These players are the San Diego B team Berserk, and they are here to help us with stats. This is bringing in all different levels of play with this WUL championship weekend. So it's great to have players helping and seeing from the sideline, really great ultimate play. This is the Super Bloom O-line, immediately off to races to Walters with a scoober immediately over that cup. Jones through.
I will say for this game,
Maldonado.
The wind has definitely died down, and so we're seeing these zone looks from both teams are not able to stop things like Hannah Walters upside down throw to break that cup and go over the top. And that is Avery Jones with the score.
Yes, you're right. There isn't wind, but Super Bloom also using every single tactic to break a zone. They went around, they went over, and they went through. Maldonado with that finally. That is the 4th goal for Jones, and I am not surprised. That player was in the handler space and then in the deep space. It's very hard to keep track of a player in a zone like that. Really great work exploiting the space for Avery Jones.
Yeah, and earlier you were talking about how Avery Jones is a hybrid player, and I think that is a perfect example. Able to come back to help in the handler space, be that 4th handler for the zone, and then once that zone is broken, running to the end zone for the score. Just a threat all around.
Yeah.
Here we are seeing the Onyx offensive line. Eisenbray picking up
to Sherwood. Again, poaching off the front of this stack is really working for Super Bloom. Tajima with the disc on the far side, centering over. Coles as the outlet. Again to Sherwood. Going to their knees to get that low release, a signature Julia Sherwood move. It looks like there's a pick called in the middle of the stack. Talking about when the disc comes back in, but you can see from that pile of players that I'm not surprised that there was a pick, given that, especially in the WUL rule set, a pick needs to be within 2 yards, 6 feet. So it's a little bit closer than the USA rule set, but everyone in there very close together.
Yeah, the stack getting bunched up as Oregon Onyx pushes upfield. Looks like it is coming in on 4.
It's in on 4!
Pretty high stall to be coming in on.
Yeah, Amy Turner with the disc, pre-stalling, moving the disc back to Tajima.
Looking for Sherwood.
Outlet with Sherwood. A big hammer going up to Zajon. That is a name we haven't said very much, but a name I'd like to keep saying some more. Finding that pinpoint reception. I was going to say it was probably going to be Tajima with the hammer, but she's not the only person who can unleash their tool set and bring a hammer into the end zone.
Yeah, Oregon Onyx, just a wealth of experience for throws on their roster. And we see here again Sherwood with that hammer to Zajon, a receiver that you can definitely trust in the end zone.
Absolutely, and that kind of quick score is what Oregon wanted, but time is slipping away from them. Sherwood making an impact in this second half with 1 goal and 2 assists for Julia Sherwood. It looks like Super Bloom is starting to open up their lines. We're seeing a couple of newer players on these O-lines. Wataoka with the big pull.
I think Super Bloom wants to keep their lines varied. They do want to use their roster. They have a deep roster, but save legs when they can for tomorrow's game.
I think that's smart. Oregon started out in a zone look and is immediately switching into person after about the first 3 throws. Out to the far side. Back to Diaz. Resetting to Walter. Diaz to Juan. Diaz with the assist.
And we see an assist from Diaz and another score for Juan. And really, I think to highlight in this point and throughout the game for Super Bloom is just how quick these throws are going off. These players know the stall count is short and catch, look downfield, find another player. Here we see Abrams to Walter.
They throw and move so quickly. You can see 3 different receptions that could have been. Players are heads up moving. They throw it and receive it almost faster than I can talk. And I recognize that I am a fast talker. That is Jessica Juan with 2 goals and 1 assist tonight, really getting involved here in that second half.
Yeah, and I think, you know, with Super Bloom kind of opening up their lines, we can see that all of their players are comfortable in that give and go setting and know that that is the best way to stay ahead of defense.
Duran with the pull. Centered. Now to Steinfeld. Zajon going deep. Runzo on the far side to Tetlow. Looking for Kimber Coles, deep, received, but not in the end zone yet. And the handler following up Tetlow for the score from Kimber Coles.
Yeah, that was a great quick point from Oregon Onyx, just able to, once again, find that cutter going deep, and then from there, push into the end zone.
Yeah, that is the second score, I believe, for Tetlow. Tetlow really doing work in the handler space, having to keep moving around. Big throw to Kimber Coles. It's only 7 seconds, so you recognize that Kimber Coles taps it back in, and the player coming up sprinting from behind is the same player who threw it. That's really good effort from Oregon Onyx and really good work from that player in particular. Looks like Tajima is about to pull the disc. Egan, Wilson, Wataoka on the D-line. There is 1 minute left in play. Maldonado centering to Walter. Tight person defense by Onyx. Not many outlets. Finally through Messner's hands. Wilson picks up. Miscue on the reset. Feeling the time pressure. Pick up. Turn?
Looks like a
no
foul.
Contest.
Yeah.
Foul, no contest.
Willis trying to throw through the mark, and there was contact.
Yeah. Very quickly figuring out how that should be played. Good job, players on both sides. Moving, Walter has the frisbee. Flying. It is going to be a big layout.
Huge layout from Blair Messner, and across the field looking for Deanna Abrams for the final score of the game, and Super Bloom secures their position, and they are in the finals of this championship weekend against Seattle Tempest.
Yeah, that was a full game performance from San Diego Super Bloom. I'm sure they're feeling the home field advantage and the home field love from their fans this evening, but really a powerhouse show of what defensive intensity, a fast break offense, and a relentless defensive pressure can do for a team.
And there again, that huge backhand to Deanna Abrams from Blair Messner for the score. And Oregon Onyx, again, having been a crowd favorite to end up in the finals against Seattle Tempest, really grinding out their points here in this semifinals game, but not quite able to make it, and just playing their hearts out in this final game of the season.
Yes, Oregon Onyx is actually going to be taking on the Arizona Sidewinders tomorrow in the 3-4 game at 10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. We're going to be covering that game as well. So you have another chance to see Oregon Onyx play, as well as the Sidewinders. So both of those teams getting another chance, but really great play tonight from Onyx. Just unfortunately weren't able to make those things. But really, the headline matchup has to be, we have to talk about San Diego Super Bloom taking on the #1 stats leader, the 1 seed in this tournament, the Seattle Tempest.
Yeah, I think Super Bloom is coming in as an underdog, as you put it so well. You know, Seattle Tempest has been dominating this entire season. But the last time Seattle and San Diego have faced each other was back in week 1. And San Diego Super Bloom were missing key players like Iwamoto and Alex Diaz. And both teams are probably hugely different than what they were in week 1, as all of these teams are learning the ins and outs of how to play under these new rules.
Yeah, I agree with you. The teams that played each other in week 1 are not the same, but this player, Ali Steinfeld, making an impact in this game with big throws, great receptions from Onyx. Ali Steinfeld, number 12. There we go with that give and go goal, finally getting that 1 goal and several assist game.
Just a huge, you know, throughout the season, we've seen her score so many goals, and then in this game showing, you know, she can also throw these huge hugs. I mean, she's been showing that throughout the season, but just showing how well-rounded of a player Steinfeld is and what a huge threat that she is. And now we are going to go downfield on the sideline for our post-game interview with the goal leader of the game.
Manisha Dariani down here with fantasy stat winner Alex Diaz. Alex, you finished with 7 goals and 2 assists. What a statement win for you and the Super Bloom. How do you feel right now?
I feel great. This was a super fun game, like crazy fun. We like all put our all. I know like that's a lot of stats for me, but like every single person on the field was putting every amount of effort they had in there. So it's like, I get the goals, that's the easy part. It's getting those Ds, it's getting that movement going. Like, handlers are like what our team is based off of, and so just like, they might not get the stats, but they're really the ones that are putting in the work.
This actually really was a very complete game for Super Bloom and quite the statement leading into the finals against Seattle. How do you think the two of you match up now?
I mean, I'm excited. I always knew that the Seattle game, like tomorrow, was going to be a good game. I was joking with the Seattle players. I'll see them in the finals since I missed the first time we played them. I know Kelly Wamoto missed that game too, and plus it was the first game of the season. Like, we're working stuff out, and so I know we're so excited, and we're gonna bring it to them. So.
Well, Diaz, you're going to have to go and rest up because tomorrow at 1 o'clock it will be San Diego Super Bloom, hometown favorites against number 1 seed Seattle Tempest. That'll be coming at you at 1 o'clock. And thank you so much, Alex. Go enjoy the win tonight.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Back to you upstairs.
And here we can see San Diego Super Bloom celebrating their win, and now
and sliding into that photo. I don't think I've ever seen quite as much of an apt description of a photo finish, but they're posing with the expertly made Bloom costume, all of the kids, many moms on this team, and seeing the things really highlight high-level plays from both teams. Kayla Helton tiptoeing the line here. I can't wait to see what happens later in this from this really great play from this Western Ultimate League semifinal day. We've had a lot of fun here playing. We hope you've enjoyed our broadcast. It's been a pleasure. Again, I am Katie Killebrew commentating here with my team of Mako and Manisha Dariani with our all-female.
And now I think we have the play of the game coming up, and that would be, oh, I'm sorry. The play of the game was Kayla Helton's huge running deep cut to lay out bid. And again, tune in tomorrow for the finals as well as the 3rd and 4th place deciding game. Thank you for joining us for the Western Ultimate League Championship.